Welcome to HEA's HypnoConnect, the podcast by the Hypnosis Education Association. Real conversations, expert insights, and meaningful connection. Brought to you by HypnoBiz in a Box, the ultimate all-in-one hypnosis business platform. Let's get to it.
Let's welcome our guest speaker tonight. I'm Melanie McCool, the president of HEA.
And I'm Sean Gray. I'm the VP.
And tonight we have Sharon Jackman for you. And I'm looking at all of you showing up today, coming on in. And as you can see, we're coming to you from the beautiful forests.
If you're just joining us, we're out in the woods.
We're in the woods.
We're literally in the sticks, people.
But it's all good because Sharon is the host and she's going to give us some really powerful info today. Something about a $3.9 million business? Million?
It's a problem.
$3.9 million problem.
Jumping the gun.
All right.
So let me tell you guys a little bit about Sharon. Sharon Jackman is dedicated to helping women resolve shame and self-doubt and supercharge their self-confidence without spending years in therapy. With more than 3 decades to publish a new book called Outrageous Confidence: How to Stop Being the Good Girl and Start Owning Your Power. In it, she shares the surprising stories that inspired her to create the Worthiness Code, an elegant 4-step protocol that takes women from stuck to unstoppable. Beyond her mastery in hypnosis, Sharon boasts over a dozen years as a master certified business coach, guiding countless women to overcome self-doubt and chart their paths to success. And as president of her city's largest women's networking group, she actively fosters growth, cultivates connections, and provides a nurturing environment where professional and entrepreneurial women flourish. And when she's not empowering women, Sharon enjoys spending time at her home in Wake Forest, North Carolina, with her husband, Roland, their spoiled dog, Oliver, and a gaggle of grandkids nearby who fill her heart with joy. Now, today, Sharon will share a presentation with us titled Outrageous Confidence, Solution to a $3.9 million Problem. Discover how to use an ascending brain framework that takes your clients from stuck to unstoppable in 6 elegant sessions, and take away the deceptively simple key that makes the process a joy to facilitate. And now, let's give a HypnoConnect welcome to Sharon Jackman.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, for Sean for doing that in the forest. Awesome, Sharon. I am so excited for this. I love how you structured it. And it is really the heart of what we do with the Hypnosis Education Association, is to help people who work in the field to, expand how they might work. So I love that you've got a 6-session framework for us. I'm really excited. So I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm really excited to see where we go.
Thank you. Thank you. And it looks lovely there in the forest, you woodland creatures, you.
Yes.
So welcome, everyone. I'm delighted to talk to you about what I do in my practice, see how it might benefit you. Let me start by saying most clients come to us for 2 things in general. They want either freedom. Well, actually, you want 2 things, freedom and confidence, right? They want freedom from whatever's holding them back in their life, and they want confidence to move forward. And in a consult, one of the ways we might motivate them to make a change is to get them in touch with what a lack of confidence has actually cost them in the past. Now, this is especially powerful for me because I found out at one point in my life exactly what it was costing me, and it came at a very particular price. So this was back when I was married to my first husband. I was living a wonderful life at the time, being the good girl in my marriage, right? Doing all those things a good girl, a good wife does. I was walking on eggshells. I was saying yes when I wanted to say no. I was running interference between my husband and my kids. This might sound familiar to you, right? So I did that for 20 years because I actually thought it was working for me. And of course, I was stressed out and anxious all the time, but it seemed like a small price to pay for a happy family. Until the day I was actually sued by a bank for $3.9 million. That was my wake-up call. So here's how it unfolded. My husband's family developed real estate, and they had brought us into a deal that made absolutely no sense to me at the time. It was a condo project on the coast of Florida the year after the state had been hit by 4 hurricanes. But the men in my husband's family all said it was an incredible investment. So, and that I was crazy to overthink it. And in fairness, they had all made tons of money on projects like this in the past. So even though everything inside of me was screaming that this idea was absolutely insane, I went along with it. Why? Because I was the good girl, and I wanted all these men in this family to like me. So despite my better judgment, I said yes. And everything went swimmingly until the deal went south. And then every one of the investors was sued for the entire cost of the construction loan. So in that moment of seeing that $3.9 million price tag in writing, I realized one thing, and that was that I had gotten myself into this mess. I had gotten myself into it by not speaking my mind, by going along to get along, by letting other people gaslight me, make me think I was crazy. And if I didn't change this pattern, I thought, how much is the next wake-up call going to be, right? Is it going to be maybe $10 million, maybe $20 million? All I knew was I could not afford to find out. So at this point, I had been a hypnosis specialist for, I think it was about 20 years. So I began using my own tools to sort through my subconscious mind and pull the plug on all the old beliefs and all the old stuck emotions that actually made me believe that I had to be subservient to the men in my life. And as I was doing this, I was not only gaining confidence, I also happened to be the only person who was dropped from the lawsuit without any explanation at all. And I took that as a very good sign. So that was the seed, planting the seeds for what later became the Worthiness Code. Now, there were a couple of things that led into this, but the Worthiness Code is the protocol I use today to empower my clients to feel confident and free. And it is thorough enough to relieve the underlying issues that cause a number of different problems. And it does that because it uses what's an ascending brain framework, or sometimes we see this in the trauma-informed world as a bottom-up approach. And I'll talk about that in just a bit. But I recognized at the time there was one other big issue that formed the framework for this protocol. And it came about also in my first marriage as well, not surprising. When my husband and I were going through a divorce, which was shortly after, or actually it was during the time I was sued for $3.9 million, as if a divorce isn't bad enough. We had decided together that we were going to continue to run our finances together the way we always did. He and I had always put everything into one pot, and I was the one who managed all the finances. And out of that one pot came our car payments, our mortgage payment, the kids' school tuition, everything. And we both contributed to it. It took all of our income to do it. So we decided we were going to keep everything running smoothly exactly the way it had until we got divorced. And so that's the way it ran until one day I opened my email to a message from my husband at the time that said, I've decided to open my own account and deposit my money there. I'll contribute to my joint expenses. Just tell me what they are. In that moment, it was the financial free fall that I always feared would come with a divorce. It was bad enough that I saw that $3.9 million price tag. I thought I was going to hold it all together as we went through this process. And here it was about to fall apart because he didn't know we were about to start bouncing checks left and right. So in that moment, I felt a sense of desperation. It was like the ground was crumbling underneath me. And I went to find him in another part of the house. And of course, we weren't communicating any better going through a divorce than we had when we were, getting along fine married. So I found him and said in the nicest voice that I could, "What are you thinking?" Now, it sounded a little different than that, but that's what I'm going to say it sounded like. What in the world are you thinking? Do you have any idea what's happening here? Do you know what you've just done? And of course, he did what we were doing at the time. He went and hid from me in the bedroom, and I was just falling apart until I began to walk from the living room to the hallway. And all of a sudden, I started becoming filled with the strangest sensation. It started from my hips and started moving up my body. And when it hit my heart, I realized it was the feeling of complete and utter joy, which was weird. And then as it continued up, when it hit my brain, I suddenly remembered 20 years earlier, I realized I had a very strange pattern in my life. Whenever I would get what's called found money, money, a check that you get for a birthday or a refund on a deposit that you forgot about or money that you weren't expecting, I would get all excited about all the ways I was going to spend the money. And was I going to go to dinner? Was I going to go buy a new outfit? Was I going to get a new bed for my dog? Whatever it was. I would get all excited about how I was going to spend it. And within a few days, I would get an unexpected bill for almost the exact amount, within $5. And I would be deflated. And it happened over and over and over again. I would get money out of nowhere. I'd get excited. Suddenly I'd get a bill I wasn't expected and I would get deflated. And I was telling a friend of mine about this one day, and I was moaning about it and telling her how unfair it was and, how I was cursed. And all of a sudden she stopped and she said to me, "Shut up." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "You are the luckiest person in the world and you don't even know it." Talk about a reframe, right? Yeah, you got to love those friends. And in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, she's right. And I started looking at it and telling people over and over again when it happened. I would start noticing and saying to friends, "Look at this. I just got this check for this amount. I just got that bill for that amount. Can you believe that?" And then I would say out loud, when it comes to money, everything always works out for me. And so here I was in the living room of my home, having a devastating money conversation when I was being filled with joy. And I remembered, oh, that's right. When it comes to money, everything always works out for me. And so I went and found my husband hiding in the bedroom. And I told him, "You know what? This is going to be fine. Everything's fine. It'll work out. I'm not sure how it'll work out, but I'm sure it will. Don't worry about it. Forgive me. It's going to be fine." And he was so disarmed that he apologized and he went and put all the money back into that one account, and it stayed there through our entire divorce. I was one of those people that a friend of mine used to say that I was the only person she knows whose credit score increased with divorce than decreased, right? Because we kept everything running exactly the way it was. But there was something, yeah, that was a crazy win, Melanie. There was something, though, phenomenal about that. I recognized that I had been speaking this out loud and training my brain for so many years that when I was in a moment of devastation, my body, my cells remembered the truth before I did. And I thought, well, that's fascinating. rather than waiting 20 years, how can we do this in just a few sessions with hypnosis, right? So at the same time, I recognized that no one's going to save me. No one's going to pull me up but myself. No one's going to give me confidence. I've got to build it up in myself. And recognizing this is what all of our clients want, I also recognized the inherent power of joy. And I started looking at how to use that as leverage. Now, that was back in about 2006, 2007. During that time, research started picking up in terms of neurology, its impact on our body, and specifically memories and how memories work. And so many of you are very familiar with memory reconsolidation, right? That is the process by which we change those things that are triggering us. We change those things that are causing automatic fear, anger, shame, guilt, frustration, panic. We can change those things so that the outcome is completely different. In the same way that I had that moment of financial devastation on the heels of that $3.9 million lawsuit that completely changed the outcome for me in that moment, the body sensation, and in turn changed what happened with my divorce, with my finances, with all of it. So those two things really formed the foundation for what would later become the Worthiness Code that I would deliver over 6 sessions. Now, I mentioned, or you heard Sean mention earlier, that I was a business coach for many years. I've been a master certified business coach. And for many years, I was a coach for therapists. And so I used to teach them not to be a one-session wonder. Often when we graduate with our hypnosis certification, we're left to try to figure out how is it that we solve all of these issues in many different ways in as few sessions as possible. And I recognize, though, that that's not only a lot of pressure on us, that's a lot of pressure on our clients, because when their issue is not resolved in a single session, they often blame themselves. It's also not a very sustainable business model. If you are trying to solve every issue in 1 or 2 sessions, in order to make a really healthy income, you've got to have so many consults every single week and so much traffic coming in. And I recognize that in order to do a really thorough job and lay the groundwork for my clients to remove the stuck emotions that were running below the surface, that were keeping them stuck in place, to remove those limiting beliefs that were keeping them stuck in place, to get to the root cause of what was keeping them from the freedom and the outrageous confidence they were looking for. We really needed to be thorough in terms of how we approach this. Now, at the time, when I first started doing this process, I was actually doing it in many more sessions. I was doing it in 10 sessions. I was doing it in 12 sessions. And I found that if 1 or 2 sessions were too little, that was way too much. Inevitably, over 4 or 5 months, my clients would miss a session here and there. They would be out because maybe they were sick, what have you. And it just seemed like those programs went on forever. And we would kind of lose the thread of what they were working on. But when I really started focusing on how is it we can work from the bottom up in our brains, starting with the survival area of the brain, the reptilian brain, the body brain, the part of the brain that holds those implicit memories that triggers those sensations of fear, anger, panic, guilt, shame, without us even knowing what it is, what's triggering it. If we relieve it there, and then we work up through the emotional brain, the limbic system, and specifically neutralize those old emotions that we all pick up over time. And then we work our way to eliminating the core beliefs that are keeping them stuck. How can we do this in a way that's super efficient and gets the job done, and yet gives us the privilege of working over weeks with our client instead of just 1 or 2 sessions? So that is where I came to the Worthiness Code, and that is essentially the ascending brain model. So starting with the implicit memories, we talked about that, using memory reconsolidation, which has been well researched over the last 20 years. Essentially, it is a way of changing that, the way we respond to subconscious triggers. But what I found was when I started working with my clients right off the bat to generate a sensation of joy, I gave them a target of something to shoot for when we were changing the effect of those unconscious memories on them. So I would get them to embody the state of joy, to generate the state of joy, to practice using that muscle, which most of them weren't even familiar with. When I got them to begin generating that state of joy, and then we were dealing in sessions with the uncomfortable emotions, the uncomfortable body sensations that we wanted to eliminate, we could go back and forth like a pendulum between the uncomfortable sensation that they wanted to be relieved of and that sensation of joy. And we could use that like a pendulum in memory reconsolidation to give the brain a new outcome than what it was expecting with the previous trigger. Now, there's a lot more to memory reconsolidation than that. It would take, plenty of time, and by all means, it's one of my favorite subjects to chat about. So, happy to do that on a future occasion. But for right now, know that using joy to trigger memory reconsolidation in the survival area of the brain, in the reptilian brain, in the most ancient part of who we are, is the first step of what I do in this process. Then, of course, we work specifically, and we do this with a combination of regression, memory reconsolidation, inner child healing, to relieve the basic building block emotions that make up the negative sensations, the uncomfortable feelings our clients come to us to relieve. Those tend to be anger, fear, hurt, sadness, guilt, shame. We have a full spectrum of emotions that we experience, but there tend to be this handful of building blocks that combine together to create the full range of other emotions our clients are experiencing. And so I specifically began to walk my clients through processes that neutralized those emotions until we got up to the belief brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part of us that holds our beliefs about what we're going to see in the world, and then allows our reticular activating system to prove us right. We are nothing more, well, we are a lot more, but we are essentially, from a brain perspective, a walking self-fulfilling prophecy. Our brain looks to match our outer world with our inner world. So this is why we tend to find what we expect to find. And so the number one limiting belief that I neutralize using the Worthiness Code, and I'd love to actually hear from you. What do you think is the big, hairy mother of all limiting beliefs. Go ahead and enter it into the chat box. Melanie, if you've got a thought about that, let me know. What do you think is the big, hairy mother of all limiting beliefs? Georgia, you nailed it. I'm not good enough. That's right, Spencer. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not enough. It is just a fundamental core belief we humans tend to walk around with. Ironically, we hold it over time in our prefrontal cortex, but it actually arises from our survival instincts because we want to be accepted by the tribe. We want to be loved. We want to be admired. We want to belong because that's essentially how we stay alive, right? So when I put together this process, I was very clear on making sure that whatever we do, we've got to relieve that core belief of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough. Whatever the client's version of that is, we make sure that is relieved. Now, we can do this in 6 sessions. And over time, I found that you could get really, really efficient with this process when you approach it in this very systematic way. Now, there are some issues that clients come to me with that I really do in 1 or 2 sessions. So if it is a true phobia, 1 session, right? Something like rewind, fast phobia cure. It is so effective that that's what I'm going to go for. If it is stop smoking, 2 sessions, and they actually stop in the first session. Because if you give a smoking client 6 sessions, they will take 6 sessions, and by the 6th session, they will talk themselves out of it. And so even though the Worthiness Code will pull the plug on whatever caused them to start smoking in the first place, I found that they would talk themselves out of it. So I do that in 1 or 2 sessions. But almost everything else, whether they come with a habit, whether they come with I deal a lot with self-esteem issues, a lot with unworthiness issues. A lot of my clients are women who are recovering from toxic relationships, right? All of that, all of these are really good candidates for this systematic 6-session protocol. And this is one of the reasons too, I tend to be booked out weeks in advance. And it gives me some financial flexibility in terms of my practice and scaling my practice, because I don't have to rely on having a consult or 2 or 5 every single day. I choose certain times that I'm seeing clients, and when I get a client, I book them out 6 weeks out. And if you guys have not, I'm going to give a little plug here. If you guys have not checked out HypnoBiz in a Box, that is my complete client management system. I say mine, it's not mine. It is actually Melanie and Sean's, but it is a comprehensive client management system that allows me to track all of my clients going through all of these stages of this process from the very beginning to the very end. It is absolutely priceless. But let me just mention a couple, and I know I'm talking fast, I've got a lot to cover, but let me mention a couple other things as part of this Worthiness Code in the 6-session process that's a little different than the way some hypnosis specialists tend to work. So I am a big believer in inner child healing. I believe we are all walking around with an inner child that is longing to be loved and nurtured and cared for. But I'll take it a step further. We are actually walking around with multiple inner children who have been frozen in place at different ages, right? And of course, these are all neurological processes. You know, they're not actually kids, but they feel like it, right? They feel like it to us, They feel like it to our clients. And so I'm a big proponent as part of this process of reclaiming the missing kids, as I say, that our clients have been out of touch with over time, not just at one age, but the multiple ages at which they got stuck, if you will. And so that is something that is so incredibly rewarding to me. And it is so integrating on a deep level. It is what allows our clients to feel whole and complete and worthy, right? Because they feel integrated. And so I will do a form of inner child healing that addresses all of these ages that clients got stuck. And so it's one of the things I love the most. And that's an integral part of what I'm doing here. The last thing I will do with clients, and this is an incredibly rewarding piece that I used to do earlier on, but again, in service to recognizing what was going to give me a sustainable practice, what was going to give my clients the most thorough solution, what was going to allow me to know how I was going to proceed session by session without having to reinvent the wheel every time. I ended up moving this piece of it more toward the end because I found that when clients were more clear and integrated and free and confident, where they could go with this piece was just off the chart. And that final piece is meeting the future you of their client, my clients meeting their future you, I should say. And of course, me meeting them. I found that if I made that move too early in this process, the future them that they were meeting was based on their past timeline and framework. But through this process of using this ascending brain framework, of releasing the body memories, the implicit memories, the triggers, releasing the stuck emotions, releasing the limiting beliefs, we were actually giving them a new past. Years ago, there was a saying I saw that I fell in love with. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. And so when my clients reach this point of feeling so integrated, they're on a different timeline. It's completely different. And now what they see in their future is entirely different than what they would have seen in the first session or the second session. Now, to be clear, I future pace in every single session because an important piece of memory reconsolidation, in addition to triggering the neural pathway that needs to be changed, in addition to titrating with that joy to change the outcome of what that neural pathway or that the brain was expecting, we've got to be future pacing. We've got to be having our clients experience life without these triggers in every single session, see themselves experiencing life free, confident, feeling good. This is really what the final piece that anchors memory reconsolidation. So earlier I talked about going back and forth with the uncomfortable emotion and joy. That's what makes a neural pathway in terms of memory reconsolidation malleable, changeable. It's the future pacing. It's the practicing the new response that allows within the 5, 6, 7 hours afterwards, allows the brain to reconsolidate that old memory with a new outcome, even if the client didn't know what exactly led to that old memory. And so I future pace in every single session, but as we get to the end, we go all the way into the future. We really give them an experience of seeing what life is like now that they're on an entirely new timeline, and it will be entirely new. And so I'm doing really well on time. That in a nutshell, without being able to go into all the details, that would take too long for this, but that in a nutshell is how I really built my practice to give me the most amount of joy and satisfaction I can imagine, because my personal mission is to heal unworthiness in as many women as I possibly can. That happens to be my area of focus. That's what brings me joy, but it also is what gives most of my clients the outcome that they're looking for. Doesn't matter if they're coming to lose weight. It doesn't matter if they're coming to recover from a relationship. It doesn't matter if they're coming to break through a block in their business to more success. One of the things I realized years ago is we all tend to develop in the same way. We have unique experiences, but because of the way the brain lays down over time, we all tend to, that's right, Melanie, these are symptoms. We get to the root cause, but because we all tend to develop the same way, we can also relieve these issues in largely the same way. And so it's what allows me to feel confident, to feel competent, to feel masterful, because once you get that 6-session framework, you can do it again and again and again. Doesn't matter who or what shows up, you know where you're going with it. You still customize it, but everything is there for you, right? And so let me take a quick break here and just see if we've got any questions or comments. Melanie, I don't know. Yeah, you're still with us. Yes, in shamanism, known as soul retrieval, that integration. Absolutely. It's shocking how much what we do with our clients resembles shamanism in terms of soul retrieval, where the shaman will do it for the clients, right? Yeah.
I also have a succession framework.
Say it again?
I also have a succession framework, but for a very specific presenting symptom that women come with. But having that 6-session framework, and I don't know about you, but I have a 6-session framework, and I have probably 10 different processes that I do, depending on what that individual is actually showing up with, because there's usually about 4 that everybody shows up with, and then a couple other ones that come up. It's amazing to me actually when somebody shows up and they don't need inner critic work. I'm like, oh, wow, you're lucky. Cool. Okay. So we do something else, you know what I mean? But so I have a 6-session framework too, and it works really, really well and you get more and more comfortable with that, just knowing, after you've seen enough clients, you can go, okay, they can make amazing transformation. I was listening to you and I was like, what we do is so amazing. It's simply amazing how we can take somebody from, they didn't even know how sad and broken they presented, right? And then they come out the other side going, oh my gosh, my life can be completely different. So thank you for everything you just outlined, and especially thank you for your, we do all come to,
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
I lost you for a moment.
Am I back? I was going to say, you also brought to the table the beauty of how we all come to this place of doing this work, and how our life's experiences bless our clients. So thank you for bringing in that piece of you, which is part of wisdom that helps you to create your framework, because it gives other people permission to go, oh yeah, it does ebb and flow and flex, and we learn from other people, how to do certain processes. And if you just allow your inner, genius, wisdom, just let it all consolidate, it shows up for the client. And so
absolutely. Yeah, I don't, the tools I use are not different than the tools most hypnosis practitioners use, right? Parts work, some age regression, the memory reconsolidation, future pacing. It's just the way I learn to assemble it over time to achieve those consistent results. So, I always start with some kind of parts work. It's rare that someone doesn't need that, but my approach is a little different. It's not to get complete integration off the bat. It is to allow that part that is, arguing or pushing a case with the client to stand down, to relax long enough for the therapeutic process to take place, right? It's that simple. And so I discovered, right, if we just get that, taken care of right off the bat, it opens the door then for everything else. And then it's a systematic process, right?
Then it's the difference between they're resisting, right?
Exactly.
And they feel like they've come to you to take a certain vitamin, right? And you're like, well, this vitamin will help you. And they're like, okay, I'll take your vitamin. Until you do parts work,
Yeah.
they're literally in that resistant phase. And you might, if you didn't do parts work, then they might come back going, I'm resisting making these. They literally will say, I'm resisting.
Yeah.
Just like that. Or I'm resisting listening to the recording that you gave me that will actually help me to chill out every day. Like they're resisting.
Exactly.
Sorry. So yeah, just like that.
And I actually really, the power of that and the need for that hit home in a session that someone was doing with me. And it was just an issue. I don't even remember what the issue is now, but it had been plaguing me for quite a while. And when she started, I found I needed to say, wait, I need you to hear me. And this part of me needed to be heard. And it didn't need anything else but to be heard. I needed to know she heard me so it would relax, right? And so that's a simple process that we give that part of us the room to be heard. It deserves to be heard. It needs to be heard in order just to let you go through this process. And so I am a big believer, clearly, in integration. Those inner kids are all parts of us that are integrated in this process. But it's not the first, I don't try to make it happen. I don't put that pressure on myself or on my client to get that complete parts integration right off the bat, because I just found that it's not necessary. Now, let me tell you too, there are some incredible hypnotists out there that can do everything in 1 or 2 sessions. I applaud them, right? I'm not there, but nor do I necessarily want to be there. And that's because of the business model, right? I don't want to have to generate a consult for every single session. I want to be able to stay with my clients over time. I want to be able to witness the transformation. I want to be able to hear week after week what's changing in their life, how excited they are, how motivated they are. And it's just long enough to get the pleasure of that and maintain the thread without losing it. So I saw earlier when I said I used to do 10 sessions and 12 sessions, and it would just go on forever and ever and ever. Did you find that too?
Well, I never did 10 and 12. But I had a sense that 6 was more than enough for a lot of things, actually.
Yeah.
The only other thing I've done is I do 12, but that was 1 hypnosis session, 1 check-in, like accountability. But that's for business. Like that's for women in business who are moving through stuff, deep stuff, and then business. So that hypno coaching session, there was no trance.
Right.
Like 9 times out of 10. It was literally like, okay, where are we at? Where are you checking in? Are you using the tools that we gave you? Great. So then I did 12, but it's not 12 hypnosis sessions. Like, oh my gosh.
I do sometimes, depending on the presenting issue, like with OCD, it's not unusual to have to do 12. And we are able to follow the thread of that because it's a very distinct issue. But most things that present can be handled in the 6 sessions. Yeah.
Totally.
So I'm curious if we have any questions. questions.
Yeah, exactly. Let's open up. Folks who are here, you're welcome to come on screen, speak your questions or chat with us. Love to hear you.
And if not, that is okay too.
Looks like Georgia's raising her hand. Just unmute, hon.
Oh, great.
Oh, I was just waving. Hey,
Oh,
but
hey,
I
Georgia.
like this. Hey, Sharon. I love this model. I would love to talk to you a little bit more about it, but I love this model. Because I haven't had a lot of clients yet, but the ones I've had 4 sessions, and I don't feel like we got deep enough. We
Yeah.
got deep enough for that session, but I felt like there was some stuff still lingering. And what I tried to do is, like, what I did was a weight release, 4-session weight release thing. And the first one was releasing the weight. The second one was about self-love. But I also brought in a little bit of that releasing the weight and her goal.
Nice.
And so on the next one was moving the body. And so what I tried to do was bringing back in the goal and the self-love part, to try to like take her back to that part, so that she could re-experience it. And then that third one, I really tried to tie it all together, but I still felt like we weren't quite done. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It felt like there was it felt like there was just a little bit more. She was very close because she was getting good results.
Yeah.
Because she could notice that she was already subconsciously making changes that she didn't realize she was making. Because she said, I didn't do real well this week. But I did notice that I made, better choices. I moved a little bit more. I said, goals. You celebrate those little bitty wins, because every time you celebrate those little bitty wins, it reinforces it. It's going to continue. And so I see value of 6. I had never thought about doing 6 before. I love that.
Yeah, it's really helpful. It gives you enough room to be flexible and to bring in things. It's every once in a while, I'll suddenly, be working with a client and the phobia that they hadn't talked about will come up. And, so we'll do a rewind in a session. But one of the things that's really helpful, especially for weight release clients, is because I teach them how to generate that sensation of joy right at the start, and actually start practicing that every single day as we go through this process, that helps curb the appetite, believe it or not. Whenever we're falling in love, nothing will get us thinner faster than being in love. That feeling of being in love is that feeling of joy. And so I will connect them to, right at the beginning, with the part of them that is motivating their overeating. So we can go pretty deep pretty quickly, but I don't do weight release in fewer than 6 sessions, simply because I want to give them space to kind of acclimate and see what's working and go deeper. But yeah, I'd love to chat with you more about it.
Yeah, it was really nice though. During the self-love, we went to the secret garden, and she wrote me a note like 3 days later, and she said, so let me tell you what happened afterwards. She said, I went back to, because I encouraged her to go back anytime she wanted to. And she said, I went back, and she says, when I first went in there, it was desolate. Everything was dead. And she said, I didn't realize I had let all my hopes and dreams die. She said, I went back in there, and she said, each plant had a crystal on it. And she said, it was like when I walked between the plants with the crystals, they washed over me. And she said, I felt the love, and I felt like my dreams were coming back to life. I said, you're never too old to do this. So that was one reason we went back and did it again, because I wanted her to continue growing her garden.
That is so beautiful. I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I want to mention, I know that we still have a few minutes, but I want to mention that when I teach this 6-session protocol, one of the first questions I get is how do I sell that? What do I say in a consult that gets someone saying yes to 6 sessions instead of 1 session? If someone asks me, and again, unless it's a phobia, then I'll tell them it's 1 session. Unless it's stop smoking, and then I tell them it's 2 sessions. Otherwise, everything is 6 sessions. If they ask me, can we just do a session at a time? No, because this is a very structured program. We go step by step, but there is a way to talk about it in a consult that gets clients raising their hand. And I want to give this to you as a gift. It is a word-for-word script that I have used to enroll clients in everything from those single sessions at 150 to $15,000 coaching programs. It's at captivatingconsults.com. And I don't know, Melanie, if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat, captivatingconsults.com. I will walk you through exactly what I say in a consult that gets clients raising their hand. You'll also find a few other things. For instance, why you should never quote a fee or a price or a rate, and what you should say instead, and what the magic question is that gets clients thinking you're an absolute mind reader and you know them so well that they have to say yes. So you can get that at Captivating Consults. And I've had clients, therapists who have literally put this next to their computer and had a consult by Zoom and walked through the script line by line and had clients saying yes. So grab that, it's yours, my gift. Enjoy it, and we'll look forward to hearing how you help all of those clients. You are welcome, Melanie.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Sharon before we wrap up tonight? She's a font of knowledge for you. Please do.
I'm fonting all over the place.
I love that phrase.
Fontalicious.
Yes, you are fontalicious.
Okay, so Spencer asked a question. Have I made any kind of general outline that I started with as a guide to keep me focused when I first started doing sessions like this? I did, yes. So these aren't necessarily scripts, but processes. And so I did create kind of a template of session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4, this process, that process, this process, that process. When I prepare for a client, depending on where they are in their process, I know exactly where I'm going with them by just looking at that chunk. So yes, there are sometimes, so again, they're not scripts, but they're processes we all kind of know and love. Every once in a while, I'll have a really yummy script or something that will come in at just the right time for someone, depending on their need at the time I might use. But so yeah, I did lay out these processes for myself. I would, in a perfect world, we would be able to do it word for word, but because our clients come to us as unique human beings, even though similar processes we'll use in a certain order, because all of our brains develop in roughly the same way. What you say can be very different from client to client. So, but that's a great question. All right, I don't see any other questions. So where are you off to now, Melanie? Are you camping there?
Okay, so we are headed to Texas. We're going to the totality of the eclipse, and we're going to be, we're going to, I want to read but like 25,000. Yeah, so we are going, the headline of it, or the sub headline, you say, is without glasses. Come on, open. It's basically space. Okay. Music, art, space, and technology. And it's a massive festival, but it's they're bringing together different festivals from all over the world right there in Texas. So it's going to be quite amazing. And there will be people that I know from all over coming, verge in this one place. But with 25,000 of them, just wish me luck that we actually find them. That's where we're headed. We're headed to that. We're headed that way. So awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. This has been beautiful. And we really look forward to your being a live presenter at our convention in September. And
Look forward to
thank
it.
you.
Sharon.
I love you. And so if we have no more questions, we'll wrap this up. I've put the captivatingconsults.com in the chat, and we'll put that in the Zoom or in the replay link as well.
Sounds
And I
great.
just want to so I want to wrap up today by saying next month, so that would be it's May 1st. Woo! May 1st, we will be doing, I don't know if that's May Day actually, but May 1st, we are going to have a different kind of session. And so spread the word. What we would love to do is have anybody and everybody come, and we're going to open it up to 5-10 people, depending on who wants to share their most interesting sessions, their story of something that blew their mind, maybe something that went really like weird that they weren't expecting, or just something that they were so grateful for, any and all of those stories. So please come and invite anybody who might have one of those stories so we can hear all of this, because that's just incredible inspiration. So next
great fun.
Next month, it's for all of us, essentially.
Awesome.
We'll open up the mic. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We're going to wrap it up. This is a not-for-profit organization. We ask for volunteers on any and every level. Join today, but most of all, share. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Jen, for being here. Spencer, Jan, everybody else who is here. Blessings. Take care. Peace.
Thank you for joining us on HEA's HypnoConnect, the podcast by the Hypnosis Education Association, a not-for-profit organization serving the hypnosis community since 1998. Proudly sponsored by HypnoBiz in a Box, the all-in-one platform for building a thriving hypnosis practice without burnout. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, leave a review, and share it with a fellow hypnotist. Ready to grow with a supportive educational community? Join the HEA today and help us spread the word about the nature, uses, and benefits of hypnosis. Visit us at hypnosiseducationassociation.com. And if you're looking to get started, streamline, or scale your hypnosis business, head on over to hypnobizinabox.com, where you'll attract steady clients, generate reliable income, and be supported by a community of like-minded hypnosis professionals. Until next time, find a hypno buddy, stay inspired, and stay connected to HEA's HypnoConnect.